All right. So as Gaetano mentioned, previously, the opportunities that face the industry are prevalent and abundant. And I think today's panel, one of the things that we want to really look into are what are those opportunities from a country's perspective and the nuances that each of you are seeing. Maybe some of the hurdles that are associated with those as well. And then probably 30 minutes will go by pretty quickly, somewhere in between there, and we'll get ushered off the stage quickly. That said, why don't we start with opportunities? In today's market and the economy and the opportunities that we're facing, things like technology and transparency, sustainability, things of next generation consumers as well as next generation families and business owners are prevalent. But what are you seeing, and I'd love to see each of your perspectives when it comes to the opportunities for the future. And let's not try to pontificate on 20 years out. Let's look at even just the next 5 to 10 years. What are you seeing as the biggest opportunities, kind of country by country, and we can let whomever would like to start and kick us off. Otherwise, I'll call on one. Okay. Why don't we talk about Sri Lanka?
Yeah. In terms of Sri Lanka, you see we have a great history of 2,200 years. We want to bring that history, because the key word now is all about experience. The new generation, millennials, they want experience. They want to experience the product. So what we see as our strength is our past history to bring it to the new platforms. And of course, we are seeing 3 to 5 years down the line, online sales of gem and jewelry to be close to $30 billion worldwide. So we want to be part of that dream. We want to be part of that dream. And we have already spoken to the government officials to, deregularize online sales platforms. We are going to liberalize our trade. That's our strength point. And of course, we source stones from all over the world. And we are a sourcing country itself by our own mines. So we want to enhance, we want to give that experience to the world with our good cutting techniques we have developed now. So we see the millennials as our future consumers, and we want to adapt ourselves to that changing platform. We are at the crossroads now. We know everywhere there are changes, there are regulations coming in. So we want to be there where it matters. So that's our strength. We are focusing on that.
And when you talk about the next generation, and not even in just consumers, but from a trade perspective and employees and just workers, when we look, Ren, you and I were having a great conversation about the educational space and your work in the Gemological Institute. Talk to us about what you're seeing on a daily basis in the academic world, specifically in China, and what that looks like for the future.
I returned China about 6 years ago from GIA in New York. And
hold on 1 second. Could you have a mic check really quick? Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I returned China about 6 years ago from GIA in New York after more than 2 decades in the U.S. I immediately see very fast changing gem industry in China. The gem industry in China is roughly 40 years old, no more than that. And in the past 5 years, I see dramatic changes, particularly for the higher end products. And then people benefited from, especially young generation who are digital media savvy. They benefited a lot from the Chinese media. Whoever goes to China all the time, there are things like WeChat. Many people, many friends know about that. And there are many things in the WeChat media people can benefit from, learn very much about gemstones. And color gemstone is really, really attractive to young people because the young people, millennial generations, are really expressive compared to the older generation Chinese. They want to express themselves, and color stones work really, really well for these young people. And again, from an institute perspective, our institute produced about 4,500 roughly vocational people on gemstones and jewelries. And then professional degree level people will be a few hundred per year. So it's a large number. In the past 20 years or so, we produced many people who know a lot about gems and jewelry. And these people, in my opinion, are more like foot soldiers in China. They spread their knowledge in the media. So it's changing Chinese perspective a lot.
Excellent. And from Thailand, St. Paul, what can we expect to see opportunistically coming from here in the next 5 to 10 years from this country's perspective?
Well, as everybody knows, Thailand has a very long traditional history when it comes to colored stones. And we've been building up on that over the years. Several generations of our early leaders worked in the industry, built up the reputation. Most of the businesses here are small-scale businesses, independently run family businesses that have grown over the years and are multi-generational. Family businesses are at the core of Thailand's business in the colored stone sector. So each family is working very hard in maintaining that tradition. Education is key. I believe sincerely that education is the main way forward for Thailand, for all its youngsters to keep up with all the changes that are coming in the world, all the requirements that will be placed on our industry as we move ahead. And Thailand is at the crossroads of the industry. Opportunities are immense. We shall hold on to our power as being a colored stone hub. We'll all work continuously and tirelessly towards that. Our family has been here for over 50 years, and the entire industry has transformed itself 2-3 times in these 50 years. So as we evolve, Thailand will remain as a strong hub with the help of the government, with the help of all the workers, with the help of the precision and the soft-handed nature of the Thai people that are benevolent, that are easy to train, have a very good understanding of the finesse required when it comes to dealing with these precious objects that we deal with, be it jewelry, be it cutting stones, be it looking at stones, be it sorting stones. We can quickly train up our talent to continue to lead in the field of colored stones. And that's how I feel Thailand's opportunities lie, in educating its young and continuing government support, family businesses helping each other, forming alliances, learning, and moving ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. And obviously, we can't talk about the future of the colored gemstone industry without talking about India. And talk to us about not only just GJAPC, but what you see from an Indian perspective over the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, India has been known for colored gemstone industry, and the city where I'm coming from, Jaipur, is especially known in the worldwide. And it has been from ancient times. If you see the jewelry which is worn by Maharajas or goddess, there is already the stones were used there, which is cut and manufactured in Jaipur. Now the future which we see, which is coming out now, which is 5 to 10 years, where the things are getting more organized, which is moving to millennials or the young youths also. So where we are getting to more organize how to cater all them with their needs. Plus we are coming with some stories to tell them what is in the past, and then enhancing more into, let them know what is technology also, since we have the institutes where we are also upgrading and making world-class things to teach them more. In the year past, we had like a Gurukul. We used to go and learn to the offices, sitting there. They were teaching how to grading and sorting. It has been, and the government continuously support, like the lowest GST tax, which is in India, only 0.25%, which is the lowest tax, which is also helping to growth of our industry. And I believe the youth of India, which is looking at the dress and changing, so they are going to use a lot of different stones, and they are open to buy. Earlier used to be emerald or other things. Now they are looking for other colors also. So it's going to be a big opportunity for the country.
What about from a hurdle standpoint? What are the things that keep you up at night, or the things when you think about your future generations, whether it's your son and your family that is coming into the business and leading in the business? What are the things that I guess either scare you or worry you the most when it comes to the hurdles? Because everybody seems like they're very bullish on the future in terms of the opportunities that's here, industry-wide. But what are the things that you see as the biggest hurdles or things that will keep us from realizing the economic and just overall industry success that we see? Go for it.
Well, I don't see, there is some hurdles in our industry, which is especially Jaipur, because we don't have raw material, which is there, which we import from the foreign countries. And sometimes the difficult to get the raw material from certain country, because now the country is also asking to produce in their own country, to manufacturing. So it is very difficult to transform any technology, because you see the Jaipur is known for color gemstone, which is primarily known as emerald cutting, which is still today one of the best skill which is available.
Right.
It couldn't pass on to next city, like same in Surat, which is manufacturing diamond, but couldn't go to other cities. So sometimes they want to have manufacturing in their country. So Council always look for collaboration with the countries, and we always proactively work with the governments and support them. So we plan to teach them also there. But teaching does not happen in a day. It takes some time. So sometimes the raw material having problem from the countries, those are the hurdles. Otherwise, government side is a very big support we have. So I don't see major hurdles beside the raw material we have in India.
And Satpal, what do you think based on that? What are the things that you have your eye on as hurdles to overcome? Obviously, materials are limited and scarce.
I mean, the hurdles that I see is the materials are the type of materials that we are doing more and more in Thailand. The bigger colored stones are getting more and more scarce. So material is definitely a problem. Raw material is, our mines are depleted. Everything that we sell does come from overseas. And we are very good at what we do. We will continue to do that. And apart from that, our labor force is getting a little bit aging. Thailand is not producing as many children as it used to. And our population is getting older. But we still have a lot of talent. We still have a lot of availability. We have a lot of neighboring countries with staff that can help us to overcome. So I see that as a hurdle that will affect us as we grow. We do have 1 million people working in the industry, and that 1 million should be 1.2 to 1.5 within the next few years. And where are we going to get all these people? So that is a challenge. And the raw material, new mines will be found everywhere. Our people have to be there. We have to be out there looking for this material that we want to cut, we want to process, we want to sell, we want to continue to lead the world in what we do. This will be a challenge. These two areas is where I think the challenges are.
And Altaf, you mentioned in some of your just opening commentary about getting the next generation interested in the industry, and we spoke earlier about sort of just the interest level and how do we engage the next generation workforce. What are those things that you're looking at to try to get the youth in Sri Lanka and the next generation, young adults, involved in the industry and engaged and excited about it? Or is this something that you see is possible even?
When I look at Europe and US, it's very frightening. You can see the old dealers, and have you seen the continuation of their families or children continue that business now? That's really fearful for us. What we see, the tools the younger generation have got to promote the industry is huge. They've got a huge opportunity. So we have to entice them to come into the industry. That is very important, to entice them to use these tools and expand these businesses. I mean, it's a huge opportunity they have, which I think to an extent I didn't have, or not the guys here. I mean, it was tough to meet each customer, going convincing him, to buy the stone, taking the risk of carrying your stock. But now you sit in your office and you almost cover the world. You see, you're there. I mean, in the medium scale business, you're there. So I think that is very important to entice the youngsters, give the education to the younger generation of sales people who are behind the counter. You have to educate them of this industry, because they are the first people who are meeting your customers. We have to educate, we have to put a lot of resources into that. And the third one, I want to touch on the hurdle a bit. It's a very important point because the other speakers didn't cover, is the bureaucracy. I'm sorry to say, some countries, the bureaucracy just changes. The people who are really know the industry don't head those departments. It's very difficult to convince them. They don't. So always when you appoint people into the boards of these industries, There should be people who are experienced in this industry, who have a lot of experience in this. Just bringing in an outside person who doesn't know anything about the industry and you just keep him there, he doesn't understand it. To make him understand, it takes about 2-3 years. Then the government changes, the bureaucracy changes. So it's very, very difficult for us, when you have meetings, it's very difficult for us to convince to have the right policies, So that, in a way, discourages the youngsters from coming to the industry. So I see there's a lot of future, a lot of potential, and, it's all about color in this world now, and let's, I know it's a difficult world outside with all the trade wars and all, but still there's a lot of optimism. So I think we should be on the right track.
In the academic space, Rin, are you seeing young people coming in at an increasing rate, at a declining rate, at an enthusiastic rate, or I'm here because I'm in the family business? Like, what are you seeing coming through from a gemological standpoint, from an academic standpoint, and where do you see the future in that with the next generation of young people in the industry?
Personally, I know at least a dozen or so young people, 20-year-old or so. Their parents are in the business. And for instance, a few weeks ago in Hong Kong, I met, again, the number one lab-created diamond manufacturer in China, number one in terms of volume. Okay, most people probably know the lab-created diamond is probably, especially HPHT diamonds, is probably in China, 70% of that, at least. And the son is learning with a PhD on growing crystals. These young people are passionate and really active. They are very well educated. And a few companies, their sons are either business people from abroad or they are just gem people. And I know at least in person a few dozen people who come to Thailand all the time, young people, to support their families. And these people are in large numbers. You probably see a lot of people in the Gem Trade Center nearby from China every single day. So a lot of young people are involved, and they are really passionate because, again, as I mentioned a moment ago, many of these gemstones are actually very suitable for these young people in terms of expressing themselves in color stones or even color diamonds. And they really fall in love in these compared to the older generations. And as long as Chinese people get involved in some trade or industry, I personally feel it's changing the landscape.
In a positive way?
In a positive way.
Sampal, you mentioned the sort of aging status of the country here. What is this? What do you see as? Do you see it as an opportunity for young people to get involved? What's keeping them from getting involved here in Thailand? And is that something that you're actively focusing on in your colleagues here?
I think the families that are in the business, they have a way of bringing at least one or two members into the company to work. I think the rural workforce that is more involved in cutting and polishing the stones and the bulk of the people that are working in the jewelry manufacturing industries, they are dwindling in number and reducing a little bit. But overall, I think the youngsters here are interested in our industry. They have the precision in their hands. They can learn very quickly. And our youngsters, leaders in the industry, have to create their own company leaders in their youngsters who will again be able to find people to continue on with the tradition of finding talent to continue. The population will age. Thailand will become a wealthier nation as we move ahead. And that demographic cannot be stopped, which is fine. But within that, there is opportunity. Our youngsters will have to recruit other youngsters to join and continue this beautiful industry onwards. On a growth path, we have grown a lot in the last 30, 40 years, and we can continue to grow at this pace, I see, for the next 20 years.
Let's switch gears a little bit economically. and environmentally and geologically, what are the things that you feel your country is focusing on most, or at least the colored gemstone industry in your country is focusing on most, even from a GJPC standpoint, from an Indian standpoint? Where do you feel the biggest focus on and the biggest thing that the Indian gemstone dealers and industry can add and impact?
Well, our industry is very actively working, and as I'm hearing from other speakers about the youth, Indian youth, which is in beginning some part they were little away from second generation, was not coming into the business, but now they are very excited to come in when they come from the growth of the sector and how the dimension are changing in the country. And what I feel is earlier it was taking long time to learn for a business, like we used to go 4 or 5 years to offices, but due to the institutions and the education level has been increased so much for our children, so they are catching up faster also. So there is a lot of opportunities and very good what ways our government supports are there. And the time we are also letting them know, and the stories they're coming to know what is the past, what is new. So it's a great opportunity for our country as we're doing it.
And from a history standpoint, obviously you mentioned it earlier, that Sri Lanka has some of the oldest history when it comes to, and some of the most pronounced history in this. How does that play into the world of transparency and trust and sustainability and its economic impact today? Where does Sri Lanka fall into that?
In terms of sustainability, ethical mining, we are there from the word go. You can see that. When you come and see our mines, you can see that. We don't use any child labor, right? We are very careful with our environment. Of course, there are 1 or 2 cases, but we are very strict on that. We are very much focused on artisanal mining. Of course, we have allowed certain areas to be semi-automated, but we want to keep, because we are not even mined 15% of our resources. 2,200 years. There's so much there in the ground. We want to leave for the next generation. In terms of profit sharing, we have one of the most unique systems in the world. People will talk about it all over the world. They're talking about it. We have the most unique profit sharing system in the world. The miner, the landlord, and the investor, right? It's there. Everybody benefits on the chain, right? We want to stick to that traditions. We want to stick to that, because we feel that's a good model all over the world. Of course, there are some areas in the world where you can have huge, massive mines, right? That's good. But of course, especially in Africa, you should allow the artisanal miners also to develop the Sri Lankan model. It's perfect all over the world. So I think then everybody benefits, you see. Otherwise, from just I'm not complaining, there should be big players coming in, but you should have proportionate allocations and make sure that even the local villagers benefit out of the mine. So I see Sri Lanka has a great system, and it's recorded. And of course, I was privileged to see a clip last week of a British museum of a clip of a mining in 1942. And apparently I visited a mine about just 3-4 days ago. And when I compare the 2 clips, I mean 80-90% of the things what was in the old clip, still they're doing it. Still they're doing the same thing. I mean, that's uniqueness of our country and our mining traditions.
In China, when in the educational space, what are the topics that students are coming in asking questions about that you may have not seen 5-10 years ago? What are the hot topics? What are the things that are of interest to students coming into the industry, and the things that they're caring about more in your everyday?
I think young people are very active and open-minded. They are learning so fast. And again, I want to mention one thing. Jewelry and gemstones are not really traditionally in Chinese culture, but not exactly true. If you ever look back in Chinese history, for instance, ruby is actually on top of the first ranking officials in the old dynasties. And blue sapphire is actually ranked number 2 on their head tops. So they have been in Chinese history a lot, but not known by young generation. But young generation learn so much faster because of digital media. And they change their landscape so fast. 5 years ago, color stones are not quite known to Chinese people, I can say that. But now, pretty much everybody around me, average people, know very well. And even colored diamonds are known very well to Chinese people. When I returned about 6 years ago, one person asked me about red diamonds, and I was kind of thinking that was a joke, but not quite. They really want those, and now people actually, there are two segments in Chinese society. One is like a medium level, the other one is probably a more private people. It's actually changing a lot, and in front of my face every single day.
Excellent. Well, I believe we're getting the time cue here. So I want to thank you, each of you, for your time and for sharing. I realize that we could really just scratch the surface in a limited amount of time. But thank you for not only being here, supporting the Congress, but also taking the time to share with the audience your perspective from your respective countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A big round of applause. Thank you very much for Ben and the panel. Very informative. I know we could go on for another half an hour, but I'm afraid we do have a schedule to keep. Thank you very much, gentlemen.